Amin Kamani here, folks, and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, you're going to learn a combination of 7 idioms and words, verbs, that you can use to say that something smells terrible, or the smell of something is terrible, unpleasant, and disgusting, or you can't tolerate the smell of something. So let's do it together. The first verb that you can use to say that something smells bad or terrible is something stinks. Something stings. So the verb stink means to smell bad, to smell terrible, or to smell unpleasant. So something stinks. Something stings. Yeah, you heard me right. Something stings. Let me give you an example. Oh, Peter, your socks stink. Your socks stink. Don't you want to take off your socks? They stink. They're killing us. The smell of your socks is killing us. They really stink. So, Peter, your socks stink, which means, Peter, your socks smell terrible. They have an unpleasant smell. They have a terrible and an unbearable smell. So your socks stink, which means your socks smell terrible. So the verb stink. All right, now let's move on to the second verb that you can use to say that something smells bad, unpleasant, or terrible, which is something reeks. Something reeks. Something reeks. Yeah, you heard me right. Something reeks. When something reeks, it stinks, or it smells terrible. It has an unpleasant and unbearable smell, or its smell cannot be tolerated, or is not pleasant or desirable at all. So something reeks. An example. Peter, your socks reek. Your socks reek, which means your socks stink, similar to the previous example, or your socks smell terrible or smell unpleasant, or have, an unbearable or intolerable smell. So your socks reek. Let me give you one more example. The reason why I don't want to spend time with Stella is her mouth reeks all the time. The reason why I don't want to spend time with Stella is her mouth reeks all the time. The reason why I don't want to spend time with Stella is her mouth reeks all the time, which means the one and only reason why I don't want to spend time at all with Stella is her mouth smells terrible, or her mouth has an unpleasant smell, or the smell of her mouth is disgusting, unbearable, intolerable, or unpleasant. So her mouth reeks, or her mouth stinks. All right, now let's move on to the third way of saying that something smells terrible or unpleasant, which is by using the idiomatic expression of something stinks to high heaven. Something stinks to high heaven. Something stinks to high heaven. Now you're familiar with the word stink, right? Stink means to smell terrible, or to reek, or to have, an unpleasant smell, or to have an unbearable smell. So, when something stinks to high heaven, it smells like terribly unpleasant, or it has a terribly unpleasant smell. So, something stinks to high heaven, which means something smells extremely unpleasant, or extremely unbearable and intolerable. So, something stinks to high heaven. Let me give you an example. Please take off your shoes. They stink to high heaven. Please take off your shoes. They stink to high heaven. Please take off your shoes. They stink to high heaven. Please take off your shoes. They stink to high heaven. Which means, I just want you to take off your shoes because they smell extremely unbearable, extremely intolerable, or extremely disgusting and unpleasant. So, take off your shoes. They stink to high heaven. One more example. Before you speak with anyone, make sure that you've brushed your teeth and your mouth doesn't stink to high heaven. Before you speak with anyone, make sure that you've brushed your teeth and your mouth doesn't stink to high heaven. Before you speak with anyone, make sure you've brushed your teeth and your mouth doesn't stink to high heaven, which means before you start a conversation with anyone, make sure that you've brushed your teeth and your mouth doesn't smell unpleasant or intolerable or unbearable, or doesn't smell disgusting or terrible. So, Before speak with anyone, make sure that you brush your teeth and your mouth does not stink to high heaven. Alright, now let's move on to the fourth way of saying that something smells terrible, which is by using the idiomatic expression of something smells like rotten eggs. 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 When something smells like rotten eggs, the smell is disgusting, unpleasant, intolerable, unbearable, and unpleasant. It smells terrible. So, to smell like rotten eggs. Let me give you an example. I think there is no point in washing your shoes. They smell like rotten eggs. I think there is no point in washing your shoes. They smell like rotten eggs. I think there is no point in washing your shoes. They smell like rotten eggs. Which means there is no point in washing your shoes. They're so old, dirty, and, they've been used so much and so often that no matter how hard you try to wash them or, no matter what you do to remove their bad smell, they still smell terrible and they still smell unpleasant and intolerable. So you better change them or you better get rid of them. So your shoes smell like rotten eggs. It means your shoes smell extremely terrible and unpleasant. Alright, now let's move on to the fifth idiom that you can use to say that something smells terrible, which is something smells like an old shoe. 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 When something smells like an old shoe, it smells like an old shoe. How does an old shoe smell? Does it smell pleasant? Does it have, a good smell? The answer is no. So when something smells like an old shoe, it has an unpleasant smell. It has a disgusting and, a terrible smell. So to smell like an old shoe, let me give you an example. I'm not going to buy your car. Its interior smells like an old shoe. I'm not going to buy your car. Its interior smells like an old shoe. I'm not going to buy your car. Its interior smells like an old shoe. I'm not going to buy your car. Its interior smells like an old shoe. Which means I'm not going to buy your car because its interior smells terrible, unpleasant, disgusting, intolerable. Its interior smells terrible. So it smells like an old shoe. Alright, now let's move on to the sixth way of emphasizing that something smells terrible, which is by using the idiomatic expression of something smells like a garbage dump. 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 When something smells like a garbage dump, it stinks, it reeks, it stinks to high heaven, and it smells like an old shoe. So something smells like a garbage dump. Something smells like a garbage dump. Let me give you an example. The old house that we visited yesterday smelled like a garbage dump. The old house that we visited yesterday smelled like a garbage dump. The old house that we visited yesterday smelled like a garbage dump, which means the old house that we visited yesterday smelled terrible and it smelled unpleasant. There was an unpleasant and an unbearable smell in the house, or the house smelled terrible. So the old house that we visited yesterday smelled like a garbage dump. Now let's move on to the seventh idiom, or an idiomatic way of emphasizing that something smells terrible, which is by using the idiomatic expression of something smells like something died. Something smells like something died. Something smells like something died. When something smells like something died, it smells terrible, unpleasant. It stinks to high heaven, smells like rotten eggs. It smells like a garbage dump, or it smells like an old shoe. Let me give you an example. I think you better visit a dentist. Your mouth smells like something died. I think you better visit a dentist. Your mouth smells like something died. I think you better visit a dentist. Your mouth smells like something died. Which means I think you better visit a dentist, or your mouth has got to be examined by a dentist to see whether you have any teeth which need to be filled or removed, or your mouth has been infected with any bacteria, virus, or whatever, or you have any dental issues or problems because your mouth stinks to high heaven, or smells terrible, or stinks or reeks. Alright guys, in today's video you learned 7 ways of emphasizing that something smells terrible. Let's review all the things that you learned out of watching today's video together. The first one was something stinks. Something stinks. The second one was something reeks. Something reeks. The third was something stinks to high heaven. Something stinks to high heaven. The fourth one was something smells like an old shoe. Something smells like an old shoe. The fifth one was something smells like rotten eggs. Something smells like rotten eggs. The sixth one was something smells like a garbage dump. Something smells like a garbage dump. And finally, the last one, the seventh one was something smells like something died. Something smells like something died. Alright, now what I want you to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like this video if you enjoyed watching it, which you did. And leave a comment down below by making a sentence out of today's video with the idioms that you learned out of today's video. Alright guys, I'll be back soon with another video.